This is a public health crisis. We saw this with tobacco. We don't need to repeat history. I think we need to tackle this right now and do it fast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Empire State Weekly. I'm Tim Lake in Albany. Well, New York has become now the first state in the nation to ban sweet flavors in e-cigarettes. And it's all from a national increase in sometimes deadly vaping-related illnesses.
Vaping is dangerous. Period. Vaping is dangerous.
And that's the governor, along with the health commissioner. State health officials voted as well to carry out Governor Cuomo's executive action, banning the flavorings here in New York, which does not include menthol or flavorings in regular cigarettes. Now, the emergency ban is in place for 90 days. It'll likely be extended, though, until lawmakers can formally approve a ban in the next legislative session or in the budget. Now, the health department says they've seen at least 78 cases of people with serious lung illnesses. Their data show that tobacco use among high school students rose from 10% in 2014 to 27% in 2018. That's a 160% increase, and that nearly 40% of high school seniors are doing it. They say 68% of e-cigarette use is flavored products like bubble gum and cotton candy, which the governor says is targeted toward young people.
It is the tobacco cigarette model all over again. Try it, get addicted to nicotine, and now you are a customer for life.
Now, the governor also says he's going to propose legislation next year to ban vaping advertising toward young people. Now, vape stores around New York State have a short grace period to sell or somehow get rid of all their inventory before the ban will be enforced. Joining us now is Mike Kruger, a vape shop owner here in the Capital Region and also a member of the New York State Vapor Association, and of course our regular contributor, WGY Radio news anchor Diane Donato. Thank you very much, Mike, for joining us here on Empire State Weekly.
Thanks for having me.
Your organization has made an argument that this isn't really fair for the governor to commingle these vaping illnesses and this really urgent situation that's happening right now with the deaths around the country with the teen vaping, and yet I'm wondering, was this kind of inevitable that this was all going to come to this perfect storm?
It's funny that you word it like that, because it does feel like that. We are using an opportunity where there has been a recent rash of illicit THC products causing illnesses, and studies are finding that most, if not all, of those illnesses are coming from these illicit products that are not sold in a regulated market.
They're illegal to sell in New York, in fact, and that's where the health department pointed to the issue, saying that this vitamin E acetate in these black market products was common in all the illnesses they were seeing. Does this, and I know the Vapor Association has basically put up the flag to saying this is unfair. What are they saying about that?
Well, plain and simple, I mean, you can't inhale any kind of oil into your lungs. That's going to make you sick. That's going to cause these pulmonary issues. Flavors in regulated products are not causing any of these illnesses, and it is really unfair that our industry is going to be crippled because of these actions.
When you say that, they haven't fully determined that, though, because they said that vapors were using both the THC black market products and at the same time they were also using the legal nicotine products. So do we fully know yet whether that's the case? Almost all,
if not all, of the studies have come back and shown that these illnesses are coming from these illicit products. Mm-hmm. The vaping products that we sell in our brick and mortar stores have been around for 12 years now, and we are just seeing illnesses for the first time over the past 6 to 8 weeks, and it's no coincidence that these vitamin E acetate containing products are just showing up.
So we want to talk about the teen vaping issue, obviously, and this is a lot of private, small businesses that are going to be affected by this, and you say that they're very conscientious about making sure that teens aren't buying these products, but the flavors are a huge concern, and you can see why they'd be appealing to kids. So is that more of a vaping industry needs to take care of that to make sure that they don't market things like cotton candy flavors to kids? Or is it something that still needs to happen in these vape shops?
Well, over the past several years, the industry has grown, and it has been doing a much better job of policing itself and keeping these poorly marketed products out of stores.
Do adults want those flavors in your stores when they come in, or are they mostly looking for the menthol?
90 to 95% of my e-liquid sales are flavored e-liquid, meaning a fruit flavor, a dessert flavor, a vanilla flavor. 5 to 10% is a tobacco or menthol flavor.
Interesting.
I understand a good number of adults say they use the flavoring to help them stop smoking traditional cigarettes.
Absolutely.
Is that what you find?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, smokers don't want to be reminded of that nasty taste that they've been tasting for years.
So the ban is going into place or is in place. What's happening in vape shops around the state right now? Because in many cases, like in your store, you have thousands of dollars of inventory built up.
Yeah, there's going to be a big problem unloading all of this inventory across the state. There's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of inventory in stores. You know, you're seeing some stores try to fire sell their product because they only have a certain amount of time to do so.
So they still can sell it until this grace period kicks in?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
And I know you're here to clear up different misconceptions that may be happening around this very emotional issue for people, because of course people are concerned about their kids. One of the things the governor said this week was that people don't know how much nicotine they're getting in vape products. Is that true?
That couldn't be further from the truth. All products are labeled with the nicotine content.
Okay.
All right, so another issue here. The Vapor Association has said all along that it has been providing alternate information to the governor's office about how to deal with this issue, and for a couple of years. What has that been?
Sure. Interestingly enough, in this past year's governor's budget bill, he initially had language requiring, and we brought this language to him, requiring ID scanners, stricter enforcement, training programs, mandatory training programs. And some of these things were in his budget bill, but he felt it was safe to take those things out of the budget bill in lieu of a 20% sales tax that goes into effect next month. We didn't have an epidemic with children using the product in April. We didn't need to protect them then, but with this rash of an unrelated product, we have the need to regulate the industry, or prohibit the industry now.
You're also saying that you're concerned that if this goes into effect and stores are all closed in the next month, basically, by this, or many of them forced to close because of this, that it's actually going to further drive black market sales.
It will be driving black market sales, because you're still going to be able to order free base nicotine. You're still going to be able to order bases and flavoring, and nicotine in that concentration is not safe to have in a home or be handling by the everyday person.
I've heard some people say they will drive to other states, build up their supply, bring it back into New York. And I don't know whether will that make it illegal to possess it in New York or no? I'm not clear on that.
We have to see how the governor actually signs this, in the verbiage in what he signs. But as of now, it looks like it's just illegal for a business owner of one of their agents or clerks to possess the product.
Possess it and then sell it, of course. Yeah. All right, one final note here. I know you're a vape shop owner here in the Capital Region, but you're also a member of the Vapor Association here in New York State. What's your understanding of how they plan to fight this? I've heard them say that they possibly would file a lawsuit to try to stop this.
Yeah, we have a legal team that is that we're speaking with. All options are on the table right now, and you know, our legal team will be addressing this in one way or another shortly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that play out, and I know Diane and I will be covering that on the news and here on Empire State Weekly. Mike Kruger is a vape shop owner in the Capital Region, also a member of the Vapor Association of New York State, and I know it's a sensitive issue, and we appreciate you discussing it with her on Empire State Weekly.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks again, Mike. Well, it dominated news coverage for just under a month, and just as fast as it revved to life, it appears to be parked now for good. Maybe. Coming up, what the state is now saying about those new license plate fees that have drawn some heavy criticism. And if you have a comment or a story idea, let us know about it. You can email Empire State Weekly, and you can find us on Facebook and on Twitter. Welcome back, everyone, to Empire State Weekly. I'm Tim Lake in Albany. The governor's office says it's dropping a plan now to require an estimated 3 million New Yorkers to pay $25 to replace 10-year-old license plates and another 20 to keep their plate numbers. The governor's aide, Rich Azzapardi, says that, quote, as the DMV commissioner said weeks ago, this proposal isn't going forward, as we have committed to working with the legislature to create a plan that ensures plates are readable by law enforcement and the cashless tolling systems, and create a process where plates older than 10 years are inspected and, if still readable, can be kept. But that's a bit confusing. The DMV Commissioner, Mark Schroeder, said that they were going to work with the legislature to find a solution to allow people with plates that are in good condition to continue using them, even when the new plates are rolled out next April. It's now kind of unclear how the state plans to move toward new license plates. Now, this week's news came on the same day that a new Siena College poll showed that voters oppose the mandatory new plates by a 2-to-1 margin. And by a 3-to-1 margin, they said the $25 fee that came with it is unfair. Now, the governor's office says dropping the plan for the new plates was already in the works before the results of that poll were released. Many lawmakers on both sides of the aisle also opposed the fees. You heard them right here on Empire State Weekly. Now, the fees were set to begin next spring, and of course, as I said, you heard the opposition to those license plates right here on Empire State Weekly. And here now to discuss this latest drama over the license plates here in New York is David Lombardo. He's the Capitol Bureau reporter for the Albany Times-Union newspaper. Thank you very much for being with us here again on Empire State Weekly. Hard to believe we're still discussing license plates, but it's an issue that has not gone away. I guess the first question for you, I know you've covered this thoroughly for the Times-Union. When exactly did the governor and his office come to this conclusion that they were going to kind of change this license plate renewal plan? And do we know exactly what caused them to, I don't know if the word drop it, the phrase drop it is correct, but to make the changes?
I guess that depends who you ask. If you're talking to the governor's office, this has been weeks ago they made it clear that they weren't going to proceed with a mandatory replacement policy. As far as most people are concerned, though, it wasn't clear until this week after a Siena poll came out indicating that the vast majority of New Yorkers were opposed to this policy, that they were really going to backtrack from it. What backtracking from it means, though, is a little vague. Likely, though, what we'll try to see is sometime in the next year, the governor will reach out to the legislature and try to craft a new plan to ensure that older plates are legible, that scanners can read them, and won't adopt a mandatory replacement policy.
So when we got the statement in the newsroom, we thought it was very ambiguous. Have you ever seen the governor's office send anything that seemed more ambiguous than this?
More ambiguous?
Generally, when we get statements from the governor's office, they're very well written.
You do want to leave some wiggle room, though. You know, you don't want to lock yourself into one position. So I think this is kind of par for the course because, you know, give yourself some outs and then you can say later on it means whatever you want it to mean, like we kind of saw in this case.
There was a lot of opposition to this, and from many upstate members of the legislature as well. We had Senator Tedisco right here on Empire State Weekly, and then the poll showed that people all over the state did not like it. Now, help us understand that the fee was the main issue. There was a $25 fee to change your plates, which, as the governor's office defended themselves by saying it's been in place for many, many years, there was also the $20 fee if you wanted to keep your new number.
Right.
Do you think the fee in place is what beat this down?
So both parts of the policy were unpopular. If you look at the polling, about 2/3 of New Yorkers don't like just having the mandatory replacement policy. Then you get 3/4 who say a fee is unfair. Now, this history of the fee is another area where we're kind of getting gaslit a little bit by the governor's office. They claim that the fee is set in law. What's set in law, and it has been since 2009, is the cap on the fee, which is $25 and $20 if you want to keep the plate number. It's up to the DMV to actually set that rate. It could be
so they
zero.
Could set it lower. Or
it could be nothing. It could be $5, $24. And it's been consistent, and that's, you know, they kind of rely on that language that it hasn't changed since 2009, but it's up to them to do that. And so that's why they keep talking about, you know, the legislature's responsibility. The legislature sets the fee. The legislature set the cap.
One of the other oddities I found in covering the story over these last few weeks is that nobody seems to be able to put a price tag on how much it costs to manufacture a license plate.
Yeah.
Can you imagine any other industry where this is something that you are manufacturing, but you can't tell us exactly how much it costs to manufacture it?
Well, and an interesting offshoot from this has been the highlighting that these are made by New York State prisoners, which has raised some issues about the minimum wage that's paid in prisons, which is dramatically lower than what you see on the outside prison market. It's just, in some cases, 60 cents an hour, I believe, is the average. There's been a push to raise that to about $3, and there's been a lot of outcry just about that. So one of those things that's been talked about, the governor said he would be into doing something like that. Republican state lawmakers all over the state have balked at it.
The governor's office also said one of the reasons they needed the new plates was because they were unreadable, I guess, by the cashless tolling cameras. Now, I know in your reporting, you kind of did a deeper dive on this. Did you find that they really were unreadable, or that maybe these devices could read them? And what did it have to do with the peeling on the license plates, which I know have affected a lot of people?
Well, the peeling is an interesting issue that popped up when they began rolling out these yellow and blue plates in 2010, and people started noticing this issue. And what the state does if your license plate is peeling is that they will replace it for you for free. And so you see some of these yellow and blue plates that have been made since 2010 that are peeling. You see the old classic white and blue that are in fine shape, more than 10 years old, and those should be probably perfectly legible. Upstate, I don't think this has been much of an issue, but as you roll out cashless tolling throughout more roads, I think this could be a bigger issue, which is why one of the solutions that they're doing instead of a mandatory replacement of plates is considering maybe when you have your vehicle inspection, maybe you'll have your plate looked at then, and at that point they'll determine, well, it's legible and you don't need to get it replaced, or it's not legible, let's get it replaced then, as opposed to a mandatory replacement policy.
And do we expect to see this in the next round of budget negotiations? I heard the governor saying something to the effect of, well, yes, some of the money would have gone to the state budget from this $25 fee.
It's hard to imagine that they haven't already earmarked all that money, potentially $75 million over the next 2 years, based on estimates of 3 million plates that have been at least 10 years old or older. And what we'll probably see is that since the new plate design is going to come out April 1, right after the new budget's enacted, I could imagine that the state budget will include some language about a new license plate inspection process, as well as here's your new plate.
All right, so one final point here, David Lombardo with the Times-Union in Albany. Do we yet know if we're going to have to pay a fee? Has that been decided?
No. I think you can assume, though, it's New York, and that at the end of the day, you'll pay for it one way or another, though.
Well, that's a good final point right there. We'll have to wait and find out, and I know, of course, you'll be telling us. Thank you very much. David Lombardo with the Albany Times-Union talking about the issue that just won't go away, the new license plates in New York State. Thank you very much. Well, coming up, advocates for the Time's Up movement now have something to celebrate, how a new law is going to help rape survivors get justice from their abusers. Welcome back to Empire State Weekly, everyone. I'm Tim Lake in Albany. A new state law gives survivors of criminal sex acts, incest, and second and third degree rape more time now to seek justice against their abusers. That includes date rape, of which actress Mira Sorvino revealed for the first time while advocating for the new law, is a survivor. She said for the first time while advocating for this new law in June that she is a survivor of date rape. She was also one of Harvey Weinstein's first accusers.
Decisions which lead you to telling your truth in this painful area are generally very hard, but they're worth it. You are not alone. We are here for you.
Now, this new law specifically eliminates the statute of limitations for first-degree incest and extends the time frame for second-degree incest, rape, and criminal sex act to 20 years. Survivors of third-degree rape and criminal sex act now have 10 years to report the crime. Well, it may sound like an unusual move, but attorneys for 2 victims in the deadly upstate New York limousine crash last fall are now suing the store where the crash happened. The limo ran out of control and into a store parking lot in eastern New York's Schoharie County, killing 20 people. Why, the lawsuit alleges the store should share part of the blame. lot of people saw this one coming. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio dropping out of the 2020 presidential race. He said he's done all that he can and that it's clearly not my time. De Blasio's campaign never gained any momentum in the crowded Democratic field, and it failed to qualify for this month's third Democratic debate. He gave himself a deadline of next month to get his polling and fundraising numbers up, but of course that never happened. Well, finally, here on Empire State Weekly, keeping you up to date on important news from around the state, new lawsuits have now been filed on behalf of 2 people killed in last year's limousine crash in New York's capital region. Brian Huff and his father-in-law, James Schnur, from the Finger Lakes, were killed when the limo hit them in the parking lot of the Apple Barrel store and restaurant in New York's Schoharie County. Now, 17 others inside the limo were also killed. Attorneys say the store should have done more to make their customers aware of what the attorney called dangerous surroundings.
The owners of that restaurant had noticed that there was a potentially dangerous situation that could in fact have been avoided. They could have moved the parking lot, they could have put barriers up, they could have done a number of things. They chose to do nothing.
Now, the store and the restaurant declined to comment on this lawsuit. It also names the owners of the limousine company and the repair shop that serviced the limousine, both which had already been sued. On October 6th, it'll be 1 year now since the deadly crash. Federal investigators have said they will likely be issuing new safety regulations for limousines because of it. For now, though, for all of us here on Empire State Weekly, I'm Tim Lake in Albany. We'll see you right back here next week. And don't forget, you can watch Empire State Weekly all over New York State. Here's the full schedule now of Empire State Weekly on 10 television stations across New York.
starting now. This is your local news leader, News 10 ABC at noon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Christina Arangio. We begin this noon with what's happening now. Local middle schoolers getting a lesson in activism. They're marching against climate change, and it is all part of a worldwide protest. Students from Doane Stewart Middle School stood in front of Doane Stewart on the sidewalk, displaying a large banner they created that says, "Honk to save our future." And we're going to have much more on this coming up on a newscast beginning at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Also happening today, the annual Ride for Missing Children, where cyclists from all over the area work to spread awareness in hopes of preventing child abductions to keep kids safe. News 10 ABC's Jamie DeLine has a story from Voorheesville Elementary School.
Every year, nearly 19,000 kids go missing in New York State. While some are gone for a few hours, others have been missing for decades.
It's a tragedy that affects everybody, no matter what your color, no matter your income, it affects everybody, and it's a horrible nightmare. It really is.
For Veronica Freer, this year marks the 15th anniversary of her son Craig's disappearance. She says she's been taking part in the Ride for Missing Children since it started in the Capital Region over a decade ago.
It's a day for the families to unite, to be together. It's a horrible family to be a part of, but we have gotten to know each other well over the years in each one of each other's cases.
To prevent other parents from going through similar tragedies, the Ride for Missing Children raises money for the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, all while teaching kids how to stay safe.
What we're doing is we're stopping at elementary schools about every 18 miles or so throughout the day, starting at 7:30 in the morning and ending at 6 o'clock at night. And we're providing safety education and imprinting really good material into the minds of kids on how to be safer online.
The Ride for Missing Children cyclists made their first stop here at Voorheesville Elementary School, where they were greeted by a lot of excited students. Chanting, "Go Riders Go," the students held up signs cheering on more than 100 cyclists. Some of their teachers and even their school principal taking part in the event.
It inspires hope, it inspires unity, and a message of protection for all kids in all communities.
Reporting in Voorheesville, Jamie DeLine, News 10 ABC.
Such a positive way to spread awareness. All right, well, as you saw, gorgeous sunshine out there. Our streak continues, Rob. I know we're going to get a little bit warmer for the weekend, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, the only difference today than what we've had over the last few days is that there's going to be a little bit more in the way of cloud cover, but it's not going to put a damper on those temperatures. We're already up to 66 here in Albany. The dew point of 49. We're partly sunny out there, but the winds are pretty calm. It's feeling pretty nice out there as we approach that 70-degree mark. And let's head on down to Germantown. Look at all that blue sky out there as well. Just a few high clouds, as I mentioned, and that will be the case as we progress through the afternoon hours today. But again, no rain, plenty of sunshine, and temperatures in the low to mid-70s this afternoon. 66 in Albany, 67 up in Saratoga, 64 down at Hudson, 66 Bennington, 67 North Adams, 63 Glens Falls, and 64 at Johnstown. So a very pleasant day for us for the rest of today. High pressure to our south. We're starting to get that return flow out of the southwest. So that's what's going to help us warm up a little more than what we saw the last few days. We're going to be in the mid to upper 70s today as opposed to the low to mid 70s. And if you really like that summertime heat, as this drifts off a little further to the east, we're going to get into it as we head into the weekend. For today, though, by 3 o'clock, beautiful feel to the air, 74 degrees, mostly sunny. By 5, 76, a nice afternoon, and a comfy feel to the air by 8 o'clock, back into the mid-60s. We are heating up as we head into the weekend, but we do cool down. I'll have all the details coming up in just a little bit. Christina?
Thank you, Rob. Happening now, police investigating after a person was shot in the leg on the street in Troy. Police investigating reports of several shots fired on 6th Avenue and Ingalls Avenue last night. At least one person was hit and reportedly walked into Samaritan Hospital with that gunshot wound. New details now on the homicide investigation in Schenectady. Schenectady police responding to 856 Maplewood Avenue on Wednesday night after the body of 35-year-old Marion Loftus was found in her bedroom. Now, police have not said how she died at this point. Law enforcement sources telling News 10 ABC they're looking for a man who was romantically involved with Loftus. Now, anyone with information can also submit an anonymous tip. You can call Capital Region Crime Stoppers. The number's right there at the center of the screen. You can also reach out to them on Twitter or through the mobile app. Well, today, the trial of a local man accused of murdering a teenager on a Cohoes bike path set to continue. Opening statements made yesterday in the trial of Thomas Slavinsky, who prosecutors say shot and killed 17-year-old Johnny Dunia out of revenge. Prosecutors say Slavinsky shot Dunia for stealing drugs from him and planned the murder. The defense claims Dunia went to the bike path to rob a drug dealer and that the prosecution should be investigating Dunia's friends. A former high-ranking state official pleading guilty to child endangerment for luring kids into his Queens home and making them wear diapers. John Allen admitted to inviting 3 children into his home for that bizarre role play. At the time, Allen worked at the State Office of Mental Health. He faces 60 days in jail when sentenced next month. Shocking new video in the case of a Buffalo toddler found in a box on a stranger's porch. Police releasing this surveillance video here. Take a look, showing a little boy being led away by 2 men from the scene of a vehicle fire. Investigators have been trying to determine if there is a link between the boy and the burned out vehicle in Buffalo's Black Rock neighborhood. Human remains were found in that vehicle. Police say the boy was unharmed. He's doing well, but there are still so many unanswered questions about this disturbing case. A local city that's been burdened with blighted buildings now making a push to revitalize the neighborhoods. Schenectady taking steps to breathe some new life back into the area. So far, the city of Schenectady has already demolished 200 buildings in the Hamilton Hill, Mount Pleasant, and Bellevue neighborhoods. The latest push taking bids to demolish 9 more. People in the area say the vacant houses attract animals and squatters. Schenectady now working to evict those living illegally while adding new tenants with the foreclosure of 11 buildings on Summit Avenue. Neighbors pleased with the progress, but they say more needs to be done. Continuing coverage as several families are still homeless after a major fire on Myrtle Avenue in Albany. 5 multifamily homes destroyed in that August 23rd fire, leaving more than 40 people without a place to call home. Now, 3 local nonprofits teaming up to help support the victims. A Village, the Mansion Neighborhood Association, and Catholic Charities, raising $14,000 for the victims. The money will help pay for things like furniture and medicine. The Saratoga County Sheriff's Office urging people to be on the lookout for those breaking into cars, as they could be tied to a notorious group known as the Felony Lane Gang. It's a nationwide crime ring that preys on people who leave things in their cars when they're out running errands, going to the gym or a game. And the thieves are not concerned with the time of day, even working in broad daylight.
They've been targeting females. They'll have a lookout, watch a female get out of the car, say at a daycare center, and they'll notice that they don't have their purse. They'll go up to the car when she goes in, break the window, locate the purse, and steal.
The Sheriff's Office says the best thing you can do to protect yourself, not leave any valuables in your car. The FBI also involved in this investigation. If you see something suspicious, you're asked to please call police. All right, heads up traffic advisory for those getting ready to plan out the weekend. The southbound side of 787 in Cohoes will be shut down between Bridge Avenue and Route 32. And during that closure, Ontario Street traffic will not be able to cross 787. Now, this begins at 6 tonight. It ends 5 Monday morning. The closures come as crews work to make Cohoes Boulevard safer for pedestrians after a number of deadly accidents there. Well, when sharing the road with pedestrians and bikes, here's the important thing to remember: see and be seen. And that's the focus of the Capital Routes' latest campaign, to help keep everyone in Rensselaer safe when they're on the roads. The organization hosting their Healthy Streets campaign in Rensselaer next Thursday, encouraging drivers to slow it down on Washington Avenue. Police will be stopping cars as they pass through the busy intersection at 4th Street and handing out safety information too. At the state capitol, Governor Cuomo announcing New York will oppose the federal government's proposed rule that would allow discrimination against LGBTQ members. A proposed rule from the federal government would broadly expand the definition of religious exemptions for federal contractors. The governor says that makes it easier for discrimination on the basis of sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity. Governor Cuomo says no matter what happens at the federal level, employers in New York State cannot discriminate against a person for being LGBTQ. Well, happening tomorrow, people from across the Capital Region will gather on Lark Street in Albany for one of the largest outdoor festivals in upstate New York. It's Lark Fest. Day of food, fun, and music begins at 10:30 in the morning. It lasts until 5:30 in the evening, and again, the weather will be cooperating. Well, just 2 years after Hurricane Harvey devastated parts of Texas, thousands dealing with tropical depression Imelda and what's been left behind there. Check this out. Coming up, what's been left after record rainfall over the last 24 hours. Not good. And still ahead, the vaping crisis continuing to get worse as the CDC releases its latest figures. We'll have them for you when we come back.
You're watching News 10 ABC, your local news leader, with Christina Arangio.
We'll see. My mom said she's tried to do that with them before, and she's like, welcome back on this Friday afternoon. Time now 12:13. A beautiful day in store for us today. It was a beautiful one yesterday. And if you didn't get the chance to get up to the Adirondack Balloon Festival, we've got another spectacular day for it today. It's running through Sunday. Beautiful evening out there this afternoon and into this evening. Up at the Warren County Airport. And you can get a little bit more information at AdirondackBalloonFest.org. Partly sunny this evening. Winds pretty calm, and they'll be launching those balloons 5 to 6:15. And take a look at these temperatures. Low 70s to start. and then dropping back into the low 60s. So you may want to bring that light jacket, especially if you plan on staying for a little bit of time out there this evening. Checking it out from our Stewart Shop Storm Tracker weather camera from Proctor's in Schenectady. Temperature up to 70 degrees. Mostly sunny conditions out there. The dew point 52. The winds, though, are calm, and it's going to stay that way as we go through the rest of this afternoon and evening. Up to 66 in Bennington. Same goes for Albany. 64 in Hudson. 65 down in Cobleskill. 63 at Glens Falls, and 68 at Saratoga. So a beautiful